Hey, what's up, guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and it's time to talk about The Walking Dead. So before I got ready to do this video, I realized I never uploaded last week's episode. I don't know what happened. I guess I just forgot. Well, I know I forgot because that's what happened. So I do know what happened, but I never did it. So I'm gonna upload it today too, at the same day that you're seeing this video, so you can go back and watch it if you want to. They're not directly connected, the two episodes, so you can still watch that one and talk about it, and then we can talk about this one in this comment section. So it's still perfectly usable. Happens to be that way, the way they wrote the story. So let's talk about this week's episode. This week was mostly just about them scavenging for guns. We had a little bit of the interpersonal story, the exposition that we always get with The Walking Dead. It was somewhat okay. I liked Rosita's stuff a whole bunch. I liked when she was talking with Tara. I do think Rosita's got the right mindset, but I'm a little bit worried about that character. They seem to be pushing her a little bit too far. Maybe unrealistically so. Now, I understand that she's upset from what happened to Abraham and the whole thing. I mean, obviously it's a bad situation, but I feel like the way they've kind of just ramped up her emotional level, uh, it feels like they're just guiding us into what they want rather than having a more natural story. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it depends on how it pans out. We'll see. But I do like her attitude, except for when she goes and starts yelling at Gabriel, and then Gabriel, in a very, very nice way, I kind of wish I had this skill set, in a very nice way tells her to shove it, and she made her own choices. Now live with it and do what you can do with what you have. So I really like the direction they're taking Gabriel this season, so that was cool. Rosita still, we'll see how that kind of pans out. Tara's still annoying as hell, but she does, it seems, now we don't know for sure, but it seems like she's going to tell Rick about Oceanside so that they can get the guns that they need and maybe get a new ally. Um, Personally, I think it was silly for her to have such a problem with that, just because she could have told Rick and they could have, as a group, made a decision to either try to befriend these people or whatever. Rick's group isn't the kind of group that just goes and takes from people who need stuff. So, I don't know. I feel like that little tiny arc, which seems like it might be coming to an end, which is kind of annoying. It didn't really need to be there. She didn't need to have that huge conversation with Judith. We already figured that that's what she was thinking. We didn't need her to tell us basically directly. I thought that was a little heavy-handed, really unnecessary, kind of just a filler. But this show is full of that, so it's not too out of the ordinary to see that. So the rest of the episode basically revolves around Rick and Michonne looking for guns, and Deus Ex Machina comes into play, and they find exactly what they need. It's some kind of military outpost or base of some kind. I guess I said some kind twice there. Haven't been sleeping much again. Anyway, they find it, and somehow it's also a carnival, some kind of festival, which that's fine. That's okay. It's not the biggest of deals. But here's the thing. So they find it, and they see all of these zombies in a fenced-in area, okay? And then they go up on the roof to scout it out, and they fall through the roof, which I'm pretty sure has happened before, right? Didn't that happen in this show before? I think it has. And they wouldn't have been just standing on a roof that was clearly submerged in a lot of rainwater, at least if they're smart at all. But anyway, they were. And then they find all of these supplies and things, which is awesome. And we'll come back to the overall thing. I just want to kind of go through it piece by piece first. And then they decide, okay, we've got all this stuff. We'll take it back. We need to also kill these zombies so we can get all their guns, because all these army guys still have all their guns. Kind of weird that is the case. But I mean, what's the situation where the army guys are all turned to zombies with their weapons still holstered and over their shoulders and stuff? How did that happen? That doesn't make sense to me. They all happen to die while prepared for a battle without drawing their weapons? Whatever. Anyway, so they get all this stuff, and they come up with this plan. Well, there's a fence here, and there's a gate there, and if there's a couple of zombies here and there, you go get these guys, I'll go get these guys, we'll push a car, we'll block the gate, we'll fight them through the fence, we'll be able to do it perfectly. Except when they first showed the place, all the zombies were already contained in the fence. So why didn't they just go up to that real fence and start poking zombies? Right? Like, they could have done that. But no, instead they had to go inside and come up with this car plan, which was ridiculous, to push the car over, and then the car had no brakes, so it couldn't stop. How hard was Michonne pushing this car that it wouldn't stop on grass? I don't know if you ever pushed a car, but you'd have to get it really going for it to keep rolling, unless it was downhill. Anyway, that's kind of insignificant still. So we get to this point where they have to fight all these zombies in this less than desirable situation, even though they are equipped to do so, and the zombies are still kind of funneled, so it shouldn't really be that big of a deal. They try to use these little line guardrail things for festival lines, and they're like, oh no, they're pushing through. Yeah, no kidding. A 5-year-old could push through if they wanted to. Anyway, so they keep going, and they come up with different ways for it to be dramatic and exciting rather than just having Rick and Michonne handle these zombies, which are so conveniently all contained within these various areas, or at least restricted by some things. So, it's a whole lot of artificial suspense, a whole lot of artificial danger. Rick's fighting the zombies, Michonne's fighting her zombies. They're handling it no problem, although Rick has a hatchet, which is a terrible weapon, and then he grabs this hook for grabbing prizes, and he's fighting zombies with that, which is also a terrible weapon. Apparently, Rick's getting worse at this. Anyway, they're having no problem. Then Rick sees a deer because he owes Michonne a deer from whatever. I don't know. They keep referencing that. I guess that was a thing. Maybe it's not. Maybe it was prior to. Maybe it wasn't prior to this episode. Doesn't matter. He sees a deer, so he's like, I'll stop fighting the zombies. I'll climb on this Ferris wheel and try to kill that deer. Okay, fine. I'll give him that, but then somehow he falls off. It's unclear how he falls off, but he does. And he somehow falls off in the way of the zombies, rather than behind the fence that the Ferris wheel would have been surrounded by, which he was already using to hold off the zombies. So he falls down, his gun falls in front of him, and instead of just using melee weapons like they've been doing, he rushes over to get his gun and he gets it, but then he's encumbered by zombies all of a sudden because these guys are terrible at fighting zombies whenever it's necessary. So then he shoots a few and he runs out of ammo, and then the zombies just they just take him over. And this is all from Michonne's perspective at this point. She sees the zombies eating and eating and eating, and apparently, obviously we know Rick's not going to die from something like this. That would have been the worst death in the entire series for any character. So we're like, yeah, Rick's not dead. No shit, he's not dead. And then Michonne's freaking out. Oh my God, Rick's dead. Turns out the deer somehow swapped places with Rick, and Rick's over there somewhere. It was just poorly handled. They wanted to show that Michonne was really upset by Rick, and they wanted Rick to be able to have that conversation with her about her leading them if he dies, and they don't need each other. They need to do what they need to do for the future. It's not about them. So it was a really horrible way of setting up that conversation. It was just super contrived. I think this episode got a lot of things right in that it focused a lot on the scavenging and the survival part. I think we've needed more of that throughout this episode. But this one, they used it strictly in awkward ways. Maybe not strictly, but mostly in awkward ways for these conversations to happen. And they wanted to show that Rick and Michonne are kind of happy now. They're kind of comfortable with the way things are going, even though they still have this huge war looming. So I get what they were doing. I just feel like a lot of it was handled poorly. They could have done it a little bit better, especially the whole Rick dying scene. It was just very poorly handled. Let's just leave it at that. So they get the guns. They end up handling all the zombies. They get the guns. Rick's okay. Michonne's okay. And then they go back to the garbage people, and they're like, hey, garbage people, we found your guns. Here's your guns. Let's go fight. And the garbage people are like, nah, we need some more guns. Which is like, okay, fine, because it was too easy for them. They can't get the guns and everything they need in one episode. We need to have a more extended story for this build up to the climax, which we seem to be going through every season, every mid-season. The whole middle chunk is really just drawn out and extended, only to have a climax at the very end, which usually doesn't pay off, but we'll see. So they're like, okay, fine, we'll go get more guns, and that leads to Rick talking to Tara, or Tara talking to Rick, I guess, and they're gonna go get more guns. And then at the very end of the episode, somewhere about the same time that Tara talks to Rick, maybe concurrently, Rosita goes and she's talking to Sasha over at Hilltop, and they're like, yeah, let's go kill Negan. We have this rifle. We're going to go handle this. Even though Rick's already got this huge plan and he's amassing an army, we're going to go screw up the entire plan because we have to have a stupid storyline mixed in with an acceptable one that made the turn at the mid-season point. It's gotten much better. Now let's throw in some dumb stuff to ruin it. So we'll see how that goes. Next week, apparently, we're going to have something going on with Carol. That'll be interesting to see. I don't want to talk about next week too much because who knows. Every episode's teaser part at the end is usually a little bit misleading, so we'll just see how that goes. So this week's episode, I liked the idea behind it. I like the scavenging aspect. I think that's definitely a sorely missing chunk of story for this series. It would help the show, I think, to not have total filler, and it would help us to kind of see the whole survival aspect rather than just everything's fine. We're basically just fighting bad guys rather than zombies most of the time. So I did like the episode in that regard. I just feel like a lot of things were handled poorly. I did like the zombie in the in the windshield when Rick went to get in the car and it scared him. That was kind of funny. So that was all right. All right, so that's it. Yeah, it wasn't a bad episode. I thought it was a good idea, good episode in general, but some things are just handled so poorly on this show. I don't understand why they do that. What do you guys think? Do you guys see what I'm saying, or am I reading too much into it? I don't think I am. I think some people aren't reading enough into it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you want to check out last week's episode about Eugene and Negan, check that out. I'll post a link in this top corner up here, and then we can talk in that comment section and this comment section, and then we'll be back next week. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.